Well, here we are again. Welcome to the April 2nd general meeting on the GoPro virtual. At the AGM and the general meeting, we had 32 members, which was just fantastic. I know there are many members who would like to attend but have other responsibilities, like living too far away, sick and elderly relatives, and can't get a babysitter. We understand. We are trying to get those people who can't come to a meeting to realise what is happening in the Peugeot Car Club. I hope you enjoyed this too. Just some things that are happening at the moment. On April 11, Hank is having a Sunday drive to Gippsland. We're meeting at Garfield and finally lunch at Poo Wong Hotel. I've been to the Poo Wong Hotel, and if they've got a fire going there, it's a magical meal. Competition. George Woods was successful with 7 Peugeot cars, including Rob Dyer, who was our guest speaker at the March 5 meeting. And he came 11th in his stock standard 405. As you know, this was the AGM from October 2020, being run in March 2021. It was hugely successful. All of the nominated people got into their positions, but we still need 2 other people. And I'm sure we'll find those as we go on through the year. I'd like to introduce Colin Harris, who will introduce Glenn Vagg, who can talk about his experience with Peugeot. Over to you, Colin.
Thank you, Lane. Now listen, Glenn, I suppose you had no choice. You had to follow your dad and loving Peugeots. Is that right?
Well, Dad followed his father, and
yeah.
so then so I'm basically the 3rd generation. So
right.
it was, I suppose, that was it. It was always going to happen, wasn't it?
It was always going to happen. Yeah.
So it was all started, as people say to me, I said the rot started with my grandfather. We can blame him. So.
So when did you actually get the pug bug?
Well, naturally, I've always been surrounded by Peugeots growing up and all that sort of, things like that. But my first car was a 1974 504 Ti.
Okay.
So I bought that and had that when I was 18.
Mm-hmm.
Like Dad and my grandfather, and they always bought and sold a lot of Peugeots. When I was growing up and all that sort of thing. Mm. So we were constantly surrounded by them and all that. So don't know about the bug. I suppose the interest was always there.
Yeah.
And so then eventually just sort of that follow on down the track. The older I got, and it probably wasn't until about October '93 or something like that. I think I bought an MI16 off City Peugeot in Melbourne off the 2 Tonys, and we were going up to Sydney, drove it up to Sydney. Mum and Dad and myself were going to Sydney to see some friends, and we just passed going through Yass, and Dad said, "Quick, pull over, there's a 203 on the side of the road." So we stopped and U-turned and come back, and that was Flash Flanagan, was on the side of the road. So we had a bit of a chat with him, and then he gave us Gordon's phone number, because we said, how many of these 203s are still around and all that. And so that was late '93, and that's what kicked it off again from the family, because in early days, before we got involved in the forklift business, we were doing a lot of Peugeot work and service work and repairs in Ballarat, in the city, amongst truck work and steel work and all that sort of stuff that the Vagg family had done, not just Peugeots, but forklifts were a new thing to the world, Ballarat and the world, so they took over, and unfortunately the Peugeots got pushed aside. So, we always had Peugeots around, but they were only sort of our everyday cars. There wasn't any other sort of interest, and then like Pa was a member of the club back in the late 50s and things like that. So, and Dad and Pa used to go down to Canada Cycle to the meetings and things like that. So. So basically we got talking to Flash on the side of the road. He gave us Gordon's number, we rang Gordon, and then that's when we started getting back into the 203s and the cars, and that's where it's gone since then,
Okay, good. You still have the 504, your first one?
No, I don't still have the 504.
What happened to that?
I sold it to another young kid, and then he sold it to another bloke in town who's mad on pugs, and he drove it all over Victoria. Until it just got to the point where she was just no longer viable to keep her on the road. So when he was getting rid of it, which actually went to the crushers because that's how bad it was, but unfortunate. But he didn't maintain the body; he just maintained the mechanicals and just drove it all over Victoria, Hamilton, and places like that. But I managed to get the ID plates off it, so I've got the ID plates. But that's it. Unfortunately, I did buy another one later in life. I thought, oh well, that's it. But anyway, I ended up selling that. I didn't end up doing that up either. So, so anyway.
So, did you become an apprentice mechanic with your dad?
Oh, I basically learned all my mechanical skills off my grandfather and dad.
Yep.
Yeah, and then when Dad was running his forklift business back in the 80s and all that, I learnt off his employees that he had here. Because I used to, as soon as I got off the school bus out the front at 20 to 4, I'd walk inside and get out of the school clothes into the old clothes, grab a big end milk and a few handful of biscuits and straight over to the workshop here.
So you didn't like school either?
Oh, I mean, I probably liked the workshop more than I liked school, but I toughed it out till the end, so,
Fair enough.
Yeah, so as soon as I got home from school, I'd be over here helping out, doing what, just learning, at a young age, So
so what was the old man like in the old days when you were young? When you were learning?
Oh no, he was.
Was he a good teacher?
Oh, he's not too bad. Yeah, I'm trying to teach him some modern stuff here. So got to change with the times. But yeah, no, it was all good. And so basically, as I said, my spare time after school was here in the workshop with his employees at the time and learning and observing and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Right. So you didn't actually do an apprenticeship?
No.
Right.
No.
Clever man.
So. It's,
mechanically minded.
It's all hands-on experience, and the other stuff you can pick up, So, but so that's basically it. Just
Okay. And did you ever do any car rallying in Peugeots?
No.
Never.
Only the odd motor car within the club and stuff like that. But never seriously got into anything. No. Right. Out the back paddock.
Yep.
When we were young, we had a 404 Newton. We used to tow each other around on hay bales with a bit of rope around the back paddock. So if that's any sort of rallying or thrill seeking, well,
that was it.
That was it.
So how many pugs have you had in your life?
So I've got about 10 now, and I've probably bought and sold another 5 or so. So we're probably getting up to about 20, I suppose. And the bulk of them I've still got. But yeah. So I sold the 504 and I bought a 505 and then I bought an MI16, then I bought another MI16 and then I bought another MI16 and then 307 and 208. So what's been the best Peugeot you've ever had? Oh, the one that, like, I love me 203, love them, that, but probably the car I do love the most is an MI16. They've got a good balance. They're sporty if you want to use them. They're just nice cars to drive if you don't want to get angry. Or
now can you just repeat what you said, because my son and I share one, and he's still not convinced. You see.
Oh well,
because he's a bit of a Mitsubishi man, and I'm trying to convert him into a Peugeot MI16 man.
Right, yeah, well, you can tell him it's not a 4007. No. But no, I just think they're a good car, all-round car, where if you want a bit of fun, you can have a bit of fun. If you want to drive them just as your everyday car, sedan and all that, and they're comfortable, great seats.
Yes.
I do really,
You said the suspension on it was fantastic. I haven't actually tested it out on Benz as yet.
But that's yours is a 2 litre version.
Yes.
Yeah. So Yeah, between the 1.9 and the 2 litres, the suspension is slightly different.
Right.
Yeah, the 2 litres sit a bit higher and yeah,
Okay.
but and different interior and all that. But no, I just they're just as I say, it's just probably one of me. It's probably me the favourite.
Your favourite.
Close second to me 205 GDI, I suppose, but that's just a different kettle of fish
Yeah,
altogether.
it would be.
Like I like all my cars, but it's just the MI is probably the one that's just got the edge on it.
Right.
Just as
So the one behind us, the white one, is that the one you're sort of talking about?
No, that's the car over there in the corner, which is ex Peugeot race car.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's not the one I'm talking about. That's a 1.9 litre one.
Okay.
And the other good one's a 2 litre 1994 MI16.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
But and the one over there's one of the 3 cars that Peter Brock raced in the 1992 Bathurst 12-hour race.
Okay. Where did he come in then?
Well, that car didn't finish the race,
Right.
number 25. The 45 car, I think, finished in around the 18, 19s or something like that. Yeah. So the 3 cars ended. I don't know where the other one finished, the 05 car. I think it finished the race. The 25 car didn't finish the race. But, but I think he ended up about 20th, 21st. I have got all video footage of the cars going around the mountain and all that sort of stuff that I managed to copy off through their TV back in the day. Since it's been put on DVD. And,
Right.
Yeah.
So we might be able to borrow that one time for the club meeting.
Yeah.
Right.
I've got it on a stick as well, so. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I normally run it at the Ballarat weekends, have
Yep.
a car there with it running in the background. And they start in the dark, so you can win the car, so you see all the gauges doing what they're doing and things like that.
Yeah. That's good. Now, have you been to France yet?
No,
No?
haven't.
Is that on the agenda?
Oh, well, not anytime
See the
soon.
Peugeot Museum or something?
No, Dad's been.
Yeah.
Dad and Mike Jolly went over in the year 2000.
Okay.
Yeah, they went over there and went to the museum and enjoyed themselves and had a good look around. So I've got all his photos.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
but,
well, we'll
yeah.
talk to your dad about that a
Yeah.
little bit later. All right, so let me see. What are your thoughts on electric vehicles?
oh well, yeah. Don't know what to don't know what to make of that. If it's the same thoughts that I have with electric forklifts, well, probably not going to really wrap me up that much.
Okay.
Well, it's the future, but I don't know. I really haven't studied it that much,
Well, you don't have time.
No, time is of the essence.
That's right.
And, but electric forklifts, I suppose they're all right when they're new, put it that way. And it's the maintenance.
Yes.
It's, battery maintenance and stuff like that with the forklifts that is the biggest problem. But
Okay.
but people think an electric forklift's like a gas forklift, but it's not. You've got to treat them a little bit differently. So anyway, that's about where I'm at with that.
Okay. And what's the most difficult Peugeot you've actually worked on?
Right, difficult one. Well, nearly all of them have got some difficult bit to it.
Right.
Just depends on whether you get involved, when you have to get involved in that area, I suppose, I suppose, not that I've done much work on a 604, but they were fairly tight in the engine bay and, like to get the starter motor off, you had to bend spanners and stuff like that. So, but not that I've done much work on them, but the majority of the stuff I work on's not terribly cramped or, but I suppose, as I say, it depends. It's the same with some forklifts,
Okay.
There's various forklifts that, they're harder to do one job on that one than it is on another, than another one,
Fair enough. So what's the fastest pug you've driven?
Oh, well, probably,
Don't say my car.
probably Dad's 508. No, not really. Goes right at 180 in first. No, I suppose, well, I've got an RCZ and a 308 GDI 250, so they're probably two of the fastest ones I've probably driven.
So what's the fastest speed you've done?
Oh, I've probably, in one of my pugs, I've probably been around the 175, 180. Somewhere on a racetrack.
Northern Territory? Nullarbor Plain?
I've done close to 200 k's around Sandown, but that wasn't in a Peugeot.
Right, fair enough. Okay then. I guess in summing up, you've had a fair bit of experience with Peugeots, and overall, has the experience been a good one?
Oh, definitely, yeah. And it's not just the cars; it's the people you meet, you know, and the friends that you end up with for life, basically, you know, and the connection all around Australia, basically, you know, New South Wales, Queensland, South Australia, and things like that, you know. So, the experience has been good, as I say, you know, and we've enjoyed it. And as you know, we host the Ballarat weekend, and Paul and I really enjoy putting it on, you know. Gets a bit hard sometimes trying to get the logistics right, but you know, that's a battle that everyone deals with organising an event. So, look, we've had some great times away, you know, with the O3 weekends and things like that, it's Paula is not really from a car sort of side of the family, but you know, she's enjoyed the people she's met and things like that, you know. But we've got other car friends that, you know, are in the cars, like the Holden shed that we've been to and things like that, you know. So she wasn't totally afraid to cars, you know. She'd been around Scott and Sandra before I met her, so yeah, she sort of knew what was going on there, but she's enjoyed the ladies that she's met in the club, and as I say, we try to get to as many events as we can. It's a bit harder now because I run my own business here on my own, so that limits it to when Dad and I were running a business together, and we were able to create a little bit more flexibility. You know, I think one year at an event, Dad did the first 2 days, and when we swapped over, then I did the other 2 days. You know, so But the experience as a whole since joining the club back in the late 90s, 93, when we got into the 203s again. It's been tremendous.
And just the last question, can you quickly tell us about this beautiful car behind it?
Most people should know the beautiful car behind us. It's the ex-John Marriott 403, which is owned by Dad's cousin, Peter Parry. He pays me the big bucks to keep it clean and look after it, and it's enjoyable to drive. Paula even drives it. So it's just been in the workshop still after the Ballarat weekend, just for a little bit of maintenance, and then away we go again.
Yeah, lovely. Well, we as the club, we love coming up here once a year, and we thank you and Paula once again for hosting us. And thanks for the chat we've had today.
No worries at all. Thanks, mate. No worries.
Good on you. G'day, John. Colin, how are you? Nice to see you again, John. So I believe you've been in the Peugeot business for quite a few years, John.
Yeah, I have with Dad. Dad was a motor mechanic all his life. So I sort of come along to help him and get all the bad jobs or something as the further you get up the tree. So
fair enough. And in your earlier life, though, you were a jockey, I hear. I started riding horses when I was supposed to have been 14, but had to put my age up. I was only 13, put it up to 14 so I could get a licence. Right.
And then I had to wag school to go to the races through the week, so I don't know if Mum and Dad saw much of that, but anyhow.
It's worked out all right.
I got out of the horse riding because my apprentice for 5 years wasn't doing the right thing, and the stewards took me away and brought me back to Ballarat and wanted me to go to Melbourne and ride, but decided to stop home and work for Dad.
Okay, then. So what age were you when you started working for your father?
I was 15.
15.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was it for school.
That was it.
Right.
Yeah. Never stopped there very long.
No.
I used to come from school to Dad's place and work and clean scrap and everything to get some money. And
Yep.
Yeah.
So in regard to your dad, he actually started the business, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
So how did the Peugeot name come into the business?
Well, it was when Peugeot came to Ballarat in September 1948.
Okay.
And it was a demo car for the new dealer, which was Vic Wet Motors. And Dad and Vic were mates, and Dad did half of the service work because there was two people. He got half the cars, the other bloke got the other half the service. But yeah, there was a lot of interest there early because the car was just so good to handle the road, and you could do all sorts of things with the car, and they were just amazing car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did the farmers like the 203?
Oh, they did. You know,
What do you think they liked about it?
Well, they liked the utes, and they were just great in the mud. And yeah, look, the drop side of the ute, especially for feeding out, and yeah, look, they just sold well, and they loved them.
Right. So what would have been the competition vehicle with Peugeot in those days? Because Holden really didn't exist, did it?
No, I don't think.
Well, they came
Yeah,
out
to
in
go back
1948.
in those days, what we were up, had.
Would it have been a Ford?
Oh, I thought it
Ford
probably would
Ute
have
or
been,
something?
yeah, more of a Nissan or a Datsun. Datsun old Datsun trays. They
What,
used
back
to
in
have
those days?
early, I think. Yeah, I can't really think what competition we had.
Okay.
I know when the Peugeot came out, because they came out with the stake sides is on the ute to suit you could put the sheep in there or your young, lambs and things like that. And it's a great seller for the farmers.
Right.
Yeah.
So servicing a 203 in those days, would that have been done on how many miles it had done, or would it be done on...
Yeah, just on mileage.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you remember roughly what the mileage would be between services in those days? Would it have been 5,000 miles?
It was, we've got to go back into miles. I think it was 1,000.
Do you remember, Glenn?
No, well, it was either 2,500 miles or 5,000 k's probably back
Yeah.
then, back the early days. Probably intervals were a bit less, I would have thought,
So
from memory. But
almost similar to today's
You know,
cars, isn't it?
yeah.
5,000, 6,000.
yeah, I don't think it'd be 5,000 miles. I reckon some of the early books may have had 2,500, but whether that was just the first couple of services when it was new, and then just like they do now, you buy a new vehicle, you take it in a month's time, and they just a monthly check, and then it's the full interval after that. But,
Now,
yeah.
Glenn, you've got something here. Can you just quickly, sorry John,
You're
for
right.
one moment.
No.
Can you tell us a little bit about this?
we were just asking before about how long the bag business had been going, the initial bag business.
Yeah.
And it's, my grandfather started in 1938.
Right.
So in 1988 we had celebrating our 50 years of business in Ballarat.
Yep.
And that was also 20 years with Komatsu Forklifts Australia.
Right.
And at that same time, Komatsu Forklifts were introducing a very unique new model in forklifts, so it all come together as one.
Right.
And we had a big function here in Ballarat with local mayors and all that that attended, and invited a lot of our customer base. So
Right.
so that's just filling in the dates on when things started with my grandfather.
Right.
As I say, 1938.
Okay.
And just getting back to my grandfather, there was two other mechanics in Ballarat, which was one called Tigger Williams and another one called Jack Carter. And my grandfather and Tigger and Jack Carter were all good mates, but they all had their own separate mechanics workshop, but they all did things together. And they used to muck around trying to hot up 203s after work, and Sue could get the fastest up a certain bit of road in Ballarat by, if they got to that signpost and they were doing a bit more, they would be, we'd be making improvements. And then back in the old day, any time you could get up to Pentlands coming from Melbourne and you didn't get out of overdrive, you were going really well, so that was always, we're on track. So, so lucky enough, I've got photos with all those gentlemen with in the Peugeot Museum and
Right.
and with my grandfather and that before they all passed away.
Okay.
Jack Carter moved to the Gold Coast, so we didn't see him as much as he used to come down about once every 12 months.
Yep.
So he'd always come out here and have a look at the cars and things like that. And Tigger Williams, well, he died when he was 91, I think, and at 89 years of age, he was still driving his 403 sedan to the golf course to play golf.
Wow.
And I've got that 403 as well, so
Okay.
because of just a family connection.
Yep.
When he passed away, the family come to see me about what to keep, what to get rid of, because he had a lot of spare parts and stuff as well.
So will we see that 403 shortly?
Not today.
Not
no,
today.
No, it's not that easy to get out of the shed.
All
But
right.
yeah,
No,
so
that's all right.
a lot of people know Tigger Williams,
Okay.
and then later in years when the dealership changed in Ballarat, Tigger used to run the workshop, and the other people ran the sales part of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
All right. Thank you.
good job.
So John, what was your favourite model Peugeot?
Look, I love my 203s,
Yep.
but then went up a little bit. Had 403s, 404s, put a V6 in my 404, which was the latest model, the 69 model. That went very well.
Mhm.
Put that on a couple of tracks.
Mhm.
Enjoyed that car.
Right.
And then I did sell it to a chap in Queensland. But yeah, other than that, I've had 505s. I think I've had every model.
Mm.
And now I'm down to the last one is 508 GT.
Yeah.
Lovely car. Best car. Wonderful car.
Right.
If they only still made them,
Big bang.
if they still made them, buy that car would be good. No.
What are the special features about that car?
Oh, look,
You like?
it's got the horsepower, it's diesel, it's very economical, it's a lovely shaped car.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's easy to get in and out, big boot, it's got everything going for it.
Right.
And they're one of the best cars they've made.
Yeah.
I've had, you know, as I say, I've had nearly every model.
Mm.
And but yeah, I can't take the new ones. I just think it's the worst car they've built.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't like it. It's squashed up. It's hard to get in and out. Your dashboards are all in your face. Yeah, it's
So
just
you'd
something
be talking about the new 308,
508.
508.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay.
They apparently haven't sold many, I don't think. But anyhow, that's the way it goes.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. Now I asked Glenn before. Did you ever have any serious issues with Peugeots? Mechanically?
No, only out of all the cars I've had, in a 505, I did the tail shaft in it.
Right.
Yeah, but Peugeot replaced
Was that
it.
because you were doing too many wheelies when you were younger?
No, I wouldn't have thought, but
No, the tail shaft was out of balance. Yeah, well, Dad bought the car brand new, 505, GDI executive,
Okay.
at an 85 or 86, 85.
Yep.
Yeah, but after, you know, I don't know, you've probably done 50,000 Ks or 30,000, it used to keep cracking the alternator brackets.
Ah.
Yeah, until one day everything stopped going around. Sheared the splines off the tail shaft.
Right.
So there's an issue with the tail shaft and the diff, and it was actually out of warranty, and Peugeot fixed it all under warranty because it hadn't done a lot of Ks, but it was year-wise it was out of warranty.
Gee.
That was probably it, but as I say, yeah, so after that, never cracked another alternator bracket. So, that was probably, that's probably the real sort of main thing we'd had. But, lucky enough, Peugeot, you know, they're good enough to stand up if they see a problem and fix your problems for you. And, just to make life easier for everyone. And, yeah, so as I say, yeah, that's the only one I can sort of remember from those days and what Dad's alluded to there with that model. But other than that, that was a nice car too.
Yeah, no worries. Now, John, you've been to France,
I have, yeah.
and did you get to the Peugeot Museum
I
or
did so, yes.
Places like that?
Yes, got there. I had a great meal at the museum, and I
Okay.
spent a lot of time, Mike Jolly and myself.
Yep.
And we had a really good trip. We left it on the end of our trip because we wanted to go. We did go to the factory,
Yep.
and we'd booked in, and they gave us just one chap to take us around. There was only two of us, so we saw more in that factory than normal because when they've got a lot of people going around, they can only go into certain spots of the factory. When there was only two of us, and then Blake was taking us around, he could take us into a lot of different places. And you know, to see them, you know, the floor mat coming, and that tells you what colour with a sticker on it, what car, where it's going, and which country it's going, and what colour upholsteries and everything. And then you see that, and then you see the sides coming up, and then the frame going on it, and then you go down a bit further, and here's a bloke with an axe, and he just cuts them all up with an axe and everything to try and find out if there's any welds and spot welds that aren't correctly in the car. So there is.
So would he do that just with the odd one that comes along?
That comes along, he just grabs it off and then pulls it aside, and then they get into it and smash it all up and trying to find out if there's a mistake in the car as it's being built.
Yeah.
And we found some beauty, you know, like it was a wonderful trip to see. Because even seeing the paint work is amazing. You know, you go up and you just press red, blue, green, whatever you want. And the mirrors are getting painted and everything's done, and the doors, it's just so, it just goes on. And
So is that all done via spray painting?
yeah, not by spray
They're
painting.
not dipped?
No, they're not dipped, And then sort of once you see that car, the engine's going in, and mirror or windows going in, they seem to hit them with a rubber hammer, and they're bang, and they're in. And
So lots of robotics.
oh yes, a lot of robotics. But it's just amazing to see when they're getting down to the end of the line where they bleed the brakes in no time. And then you see, as quick as one bloke tests that car, the other blokes, there's so many, that's how quick they're coming off the assembly line.
So would it
And
be
it's
almost one every minute?
Yeah. And amazing, absolutely amazing. And they took us for lunch out into the canteen. And,
So you had a baguette?
oh, yeah, we just enjoyed so much of that, going through that factory. It was amazing.
So would that have been a couple of hours or an hour?
No, I think we're there most of the day.
Okay.
Yeah, because there was only two of us, and we had booked it in before we left to go there. So, no, we really enjoyed that. And then we went to the motor show, which was on as well, and that was, that is big.
Right.
That is big. Yeah, you talk about the one we have in Melbourne, you know, the motor show down there. Well, you just drop that little place in one corner, and the shed's over there.
So we're talking about something that's about 10 times or more
it is
larger.
amazing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, John, you've got horses out there that you've got to get on and train.
Yeah.
So we're going to wind this up now.
Yep.
And we're going to then film some of these beautiful cars that are yours and Glenn's. And thank you very much for your time today, John. It's been a wonderful story.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, this is the John Marriott 403 with a slightly worn 403 engine with a set of extractors on it. Car runs very well, nice and smooth on the road and enjoyable to drive. Yeah, here we have the interior of the car, which was all done and chosen by John at the time. Very comfortable and luxurious interior, yeah, which all makes the driving experience all more likeable. Now here we have the one of the 3 405 MI16s raced by Peter Brock team in the 1992 Bathurst 12-hour race. This is car 25. There's also car 05 and car 45. Yeah, this is the interior of the race car, still with the racing seats and seat belts and various bits in it from the race. Other than that, there weren't too many changes to them back in 1992, not compared to the way they do the production car racing these days. Here we have the 172, which was restored by the late Gordon Miller of the Car Club, which is now owned by Dad's cousin.
And this is the tiny engine.
Here we have Ray Vorhau's lovely 202 utility, which resides itself here in the Peugeot history shed for many other car clubs and people to view and inspect, and seeing that there's not too many of these vehicles around or on the road, so it's quite a catch and takes people's eyes when they walk into the history shed. Yeah, here we have my Burgundy 203 station wagon, which I bought out of Queensland some years back. Still got a few things to do before I get it on the road, but it's well and truly in progress, so just got to find a bit more spare time.